Did you know that if you're a member of Congress, you still get paid during a government shutdown? Yeah, it's true. And it's why Speaker Mike Johnson sent the House of Representatives home for yet another week just hours ago. Speaker Mike Johnson made a decision that 2 weeks away from DC is not enough for members of the House. They need 3 weeks on vacation. And so he suspended the House of Representatives for the week of October 7th through the 13th, despite the fact that we're in a government shutdown. But here's the deal. It doesn't seem like it's bothering Mike Johnson because Mike Johnson is still collecting a pretty paycheck of several $100,000 a year. Members of Congress are still collecting their paychecks of $180,000 or so per year. And you know who isn't getting paid during the next several days, during the next 10 days, while the House of Representatives don't want to show up to work in Washington, D.C.? Federal workers. 750,000 federal workers from across the government, janitors to HR professionals to others, will be furloughed every single day that we're in a government shutdown. Today's day 3 of the shutdown. That means more than 2 million federal workers have already been furloughed as a result of the government shutdown. And folks, that's just not right. But it's also not the beginning. Because now, with the United States Senate rejecting both the Republican and Democratic plans to keep the government open, well, we have a government shutdown at least through Monday, which means that for 6 days, at least, the federal government will remain closed. During those 6 days, members of Congress and Speaker Johnson will receive a paycheck. During those 6 days, millions of furloughed federal workers will not. But it's not just federal workers who are furloughed who won't receive a paycheck. It's military families who still have to work every single day, whether it's the National Guard picking up trash in Washington, D.C. to, quote, beautify the city, or military service members abroad protecting America's interests in key military bases in the Middle East or in Asia, or even in Eastern Europe. They will still have to work, but they will not receive a paycheck. But they're not the only ones. The air traffic controllers who make sure that America's air traffic system runs and runs smoothly, they have to work. They're essential employees. They don't have to get paid, though. They will not be receiving a paycheck during the next 6 to 10 days either. You know who else won't get paid? ICE officials, CBP officials, courthouse staff, prosecutors, and others who still have to work because they're deemed, quote, essential, but they don't have to get paid. But you know who does get paid? Speaker Johnson. You know who does get paid? Members of Congress. Now, I'm sure some members of Congress will eventually start to donate their salaries or refuse to take their salaries because some of these members of Congress, mind you, are worth millions of dollars. They make hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars a year on trading stock based on the fact that they have, as many say, inside information being a member of Congress. They make a lot of money. And they collect their $180,000 while janitors in their home states, federal workers, do not, right? And so Speaker Johnson today decided, we're going to send the House of Representatives home once again. And so the government shutdown will at least last through Monday. It appears as though it's going to last at least another week. So that's probably about, I'd say, give or take, 12 to 14 days of a government shutdown at least, because Mike Johnson doesn't want the House of Representatives to have to vote on a new bill. Republicans are seemingly okay with just allowing the United States Senate kind of deal with this moving forward. Either pass the Republican bill or no, or a government shutdown. And the Republican bill is a clean CR that does not extend Affordable Care Act subsidies that millions of Americans rely upon to ensure that they have more affordable access to health care. Because if these subsidies expire at the end of the year, healthcare premiums are going to go up, 70%, 75%. There was actually a recent study that came out that said that about 2 in 5 Americans on the Affordable Care Act will actually have to get off the Affordable Care Act, lose their health insurance if these subsidies expire. So millions of Americans will lose their health insurance. And it doesn't seem like Mike Johnson or Republicans in Congress truly care that much. Now, here's the thing. Here is the thing. There is an underlying reason to why Mike Johnson sent the House of Representatives home today. Because in 4 days, on October 7th, the House of Representatives was supposed to be in session. It was supposed to be in session for just regular day-to-day activities, maybe to vote on the government shutdown, whatever. One of those activities was to swear in Adelita Grijalva, the congresswoman-elect in Arizona's 7th Congressional District. She won an election about 10 days ago, replacing her father, Raul Grijalva, who tragically passed away in office. In those 10 days since winning the election, the office has remained vacant. So that means constituents in Arizona's 7th Congressional District do not get constituent services during a government shutdown. Yes, that's bad. But something else that people aren't really talking about is that with each delay with her swearing in, she would be the 218th signature on the Epstein files discharge petition in the House of Representatives. There are 217 signatures on that petition right now. Multiple Republicans, from Marjorie Taylor Greene to Lauren Boebert to Thomas Massie and Nancy Mace, have signed onto this petition. They need one more signature. And while Adelita Grijalva is number 218 once she is sworn in, but she cannot sign it until she is an official member of Congress. And while, as we know, Mike Johnson and Republicans don't want this petition to reach 218 signatures because it forces their hand. It forces them to actually hold a vote on releasing the Epstein files. And while they can use the government shutdown now as a guise to continue delaying the swearing in of Adelita Grijalva, to continue pressuring Republicans like Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert to potentially remove their names from this petition so that the Epstein files vote never happens and the files never see the light of day. That is Mike Johnson's plan. Because if you look back over the past year, when we had a special election in Virginia, for example, when James Walkinshaw, the current congressman from Virginia, replaced the late Jerry Connolly, they swore him in within just a couple of days. It was a quick swearing in period. He was a member of Congress, and Virginia had constituent services and a member representing them once again. With Adelita Grijalva, it's not a 2-day turnaround. It's potentially a 3-week turnaround, if not longer. Because if this government shutdown runs until the end of October, into November, there is nothing that stops Mike Johnson from just not swearing in Grijalva, from delaying the discharge petition, from then sending Congress home for their Thanksgiving break and then their winter break. They don't work. They don't have to work, right? And they'll still collect $180,000 a year. Mike Johnson will collect more because he is Speaker of the House of Representatives. So let that sink in once again. The Speaker of the House and House Republicans will collect your money, will collect taxpayer dollars. Everyone else, you won't. You won't. And at the same time, they're delaying the inevitable. They're delaying swearing in a member of Congress from Arizona's 7th Congressional District. Why? Because they don't want the Epstein files to ever see the light of day. Let that sink in and hold them accountable. Hey folks, Aaron Parnas here. Thank you so much for watching The Parnas Perspective. Please consider subscribing to support our work as we grow this independent news media entity into something that rivals mainstream every single day. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.